Today I'm going to react to David Sacks, the new AI and crypto czar of the White House, to see how this impacts us as business owners and individuals.
President Trump's crypto czar, David Sacks, held a news conference earlier today laying out his plans for digital asset regulation and stablecoins. He also mentioned his team is looking into the feasibility of a Bitcoin reserve. Joining us now in an exclusive interview is David Sacks. He is President Trump's AI and crypto czar. And David, it's great to have you on Overtime. Welcome.
Good to be here.
So that's exactly where I want to start with you, and that is the fact that you did talk about the need for this clear regulatory framework. How quickly can you stand this up?
Well, I was on the Hill today meeting with the leaders of our House and Senate committees for banking and for finance, and they are very committed to moving legislation through the House and the Senate this year in order to provide that clear regulatory framework that the digital assets ecosystem needs to sustain innovation in the United States. And so those chairmen, I think, are very committed. President Trump is committed, and I think we can do something here. But as you know, moving legislation through Congress takes time. But I think this is something we could do in the next 6 months.
That's huge for me as a business owner. I think it's huge for everybody because for me specifically, we're building an app called AI that helps businesses take more advantage of the money they have, and they make the cash flow and the money sitting in their bank accounts to grow crypto treasuries. And we had to be really quiet and slow because, previous administrations, because even Trump before was not pro crypto, were not friendly to this industry. And now that this guy exists at all, his position exists, that's a very good thing. And the fact that they say in 6 months we should have a clear rule book on what we can and cannot do, that's huge for a lot of crypto companies. But the truth is, a lot of people and companies have stayed away from crypto because of these things and have missed out on tremendous opportunities of gains, of financial gains, because there's no laws. And now, once there is laws, I think most business owners specifically will be building Bitcoin and Ethereum treasuries, at least, if not digital asset treasuries like the United States is actually deciding on.
The feasibility of a Bitcoin reserve, you said that's being studied. It's one of the first things that's on the table here. What goes into that process? Is that something that would be standalone, or is that something that could potentially be tucked into, say, a sovereign wealth fund, which has been the speculation today on the heels of that executive order?
I guess it's possible that the sovereign wealth fund could decide that they want to make Bitcoin or digital assets part of its portfolio. You're going to have to ask the incoming Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick about that. The item that President Trump asked our working group on digital assets to study is whether it's feasible to create either a Bitcoin reserve or some sort of digital asset stockpile. And so we're going to be looking at that question. We haven't committed yet to doing it, but it's one of the first things we're going to be looking at.
Okay, so he said specifically, so there's Bitcoin reserve and then a digital asset stockpile. Those are two different things, right? So as business owners, again, Bitcoin would definitely be part of a digital asset stockpile, but other coins like Ethereum, Solana, XRP, those most likely will not be a part of the Bitcoin strategic reserve, but they would possibly be a part of the digital asset stockpile. So this is where, like, understanding these things to figure out where you may want to sit some of your cash, the cash that sits in a bank account waiting for use in your business or your cash flow. Things like Bitcoin and Ethereum allow you to borrow high loan to values off of them. So what I do and what Stack allows our businesses to do is we bring in all our revenue and borrow to spend. So if this month we made 100K and we needed to spend 80, we bring in 100K, borrow 80, spend the 80, and 100 of it gets invested over time. And that's a crazy opportunity for business. Imagine a business that does that kind of money every month, adding a million to an asset that they own to their business books every year. That is a very game-changing thing. If you have more questions around that, there's a link in the description. Check that out. It's a free PDF to learn more.
David, good to see you. It's John Ford. So I want to zoom out for a moment. there's a huge opportunity here for you, for Silicon Valley, a number of entrepreneurs, investors who are in the Trump administration. I've heard from a number of people in Silicon Valley who are excited about what's possible. I also see a big risk in the sense that the scale of human impact in government is just different. We're seeing it in the reaction to some of what Elon Musk is doing initially. There's human impact domestically and globally. Is that in your mind at all? Because based on your success or not in these roles, it could affect perceptions of Silicon Valley for a generation or more.
Well, I mean, you're getting a little bit outside my lane here, John, but if you're asking me what I think about what Elon's doing, I think it's terrific for the United States and for innovation and for Silicon Valley. We have a federal government right now that runs a $2 trillion deficit every year, and the country's almost $40 trillion in debt. And if you want to ask what is the biggest threat to American prosperity and to continued American leadership and innovation, you'd have to say it's our out of control deficit and debt. And I think Elon Musk, at the directive of President Trump, is actually doing something to get that spending under control. And I think we should be welcoming it.
Yeah, I'm not.
So what he just said was interesting. The guy kind of put it on Silicon Valley trying to fix these problems because there's so many of those people now in the White House. Elon Musk, David Sacks, some others. So he has a valid point. Like at the end of the day, how this works out, they're gonna look at this industry and say, you guys are great or evil. And I already started seeing videos about what these guys are really up to, you know? And again, I'm a techno optimist, so I really do hope and believe somewhat always more towards the positive side that people are more out for good than evil. So again, these guys are already like ridiculously rich. Like I don't I don't know because I'm not as rich as them, but I don't see people needing to have way more money and power if they're already the top guys in the world already. Like what more could Elon get than the top richest person in history, right? Like, I don't know. I hope. But again, some of it does sound a little shady, so I understand his question.
Asking less, and thank you for that. I'm asking less about that and more about just the difference in the scale of human impact between working in government and making investments and cuts there versus doing it with software or with hardware where some in Silicon Valley are more used to operating.
Well, I think it's quite amazing to bring software expertise to Washington. I mean, I'm seeing it here in my first few weeks that the systems that the government uses are so antiquated, they're so out of date. And so bringing people from the technology industry to Washington can only be a positive thing. It can only help us update those systems, be more modern, be more efficient. The government needs a lot more of that. And I think one of the things that's really exciting right now is that there is tremendous optimism in Silicon Valley, and there's tremendous support for President Trump in Silicon Valley. At this point, I don't know anyone who doesn't support President Trump's agenda and administration in Silicon Valley. And so I think it's actually been terrific to be able to involve a whole lot of new people in government from the technology industry. And I think it's going to bring a lot of innovation to Washington, which is sorely needed.
So that is a excellent true point. Like if you've ever dealt with any website for the government or any government agency, it's like the first websites ever made on the worst technology ever made, worst user experiences ever made. I always thought it was done on purpose to make sure people don't get what they need. So the fact that they have top level engineers looking at this stuff and saying, how can we make all this better? Again, who knows if they're going to be able to do anything like that. But I know even if they hired me, I would be able to do better than what they have right now. And I'm not one of the engineers Elon Musk has, right? Or Elon Musk. So I think, again, I hope positively that this is him really trying to help people and not trying to make himself even richer, which again, I don't see how much richer he could even become. But again, you know, there's billionaire games and there's regular people games. And maybe I'm just not understanding the billionaire games, which is very possible.
On the heels of the 10% tariffs, China overnight saying it's going to launch an investigation into Google over alleged antitrust violations. How are you gaming out the impact of trade tensions between the two countries on tech? Is this something that you're advising the president on in terms of the dynamic and how it affects things like technology and specifically AI?
China already discriminates against our technology companies. The trade relationship isn't reciprocal at all. So I think that, what President Trump did by announcing that 10% tariff is just a partial corrective. And if China wants to respond, then that's something they're going to have to decide.
David, recast for us, if you will, the value of Bitcoin specifically, cryptocurrency and blockchain technology in general. As we're now in the Trump administration era, we're in the back half of the 2020s. Back 5 years ago plus, there was talks about using it as a means of buying things. Now it's more about the store of value and the way perhaps hedge against inflation in various currencies. What do you see as the real value and the reason why the United States government should be paying so much attention to it?
Well, I think there's a few different aspects here when you're talking about digital aspects. So first of all, you got Bitcoin. It was the first digital currency, and it's the original. It's the strongest one. In the parlance of the industry, it's the most lindy, meaning it's been around for over a dozen years now. No one's ever hacked it. No one's ever cracked the security around it, and so it is an excellent store of value. So that would be point number one. Bitcoin is run on, as you know, a blockchain. It's basically a distributed ledger, which is essentially a form of decentralized computing. And that platform can be used to create a lot of other types of products. And so that would be sort of technology area number two, is all the innovation that can be built on top of blockchains. And then I would say a third area that's very interesting is stablecoins. And this is an area that has already taken off, but mostly offshore. We want to bring that innovation onshore. We want to enable legislation to allow the issuance of stablecoins in the United States. And I think the power of stablecoins is that it could extend the dollar's dominance internationally, extend it online, digitally, and create potentially trillions of dollars of new demand for our U.S. treasuries, which could help support our debt and bring down long-term interest rates. So I think these are all three very exciting areas of digital asset technology.
President Trump.
So that last point was amazing. Yes, I agree with all of that. So basically, of course, Bitcoin, there's the granddaddy of it all. It created the blockchain, and many people believe one day each coin will be worth well more than $1 million per coin. So the more of that the government can own, the better state America is in the future, right? So if it has the most Bitcoin out of any country, as those values grow, America has more money in its coffers. And then again, as business owners, people, individuals who invest in these assets and being able to hear this stuff and invest before even governments, huge opportunity in my opinion, not financial advice. But what he's also saying, which that is like pretty much a given in this whole crypto space, the Bitcoin thing. The next thing he said is these applications that can be built on the decentralized computer, which is mostly done right now on Ethereum, but there are other blockchains like Solana, XRP, a bunch of other ones that can be built. And these apps could change everything, the way we do anything. And even Elon said the government's spending should be on the blockchain so everybody can see it publicly. And that's the power of the blockchain. It means transparency, and anybody can see what's going on, and things can't be faked or changed, right? So if I send you $1 as a business owner, or I send you $1 million as a business owner, I can't say I did it when it's not on the blockchain, you know? And this is very important, I think, for commerce in general all around the world. So I think he's right. And then again, on the stablecoin issue, stablecoins have the chance to make the dollar the biggest thing in the world again, because the idea is if you have a currency that inflates faster than the dollar, you rather be in the dollar. And then everybody buying stable coins, what those companies do is they take the stable coin, the revenue from those stable coin sales, and they put it in bonds in the US, the US country's bonds. So now we're buying those bonds that America needs, right? So the idea is if you create a stable coin environment where the world and especially the United States uses more of them, we are slowly kind of bringing ourselves out of this hole with the inflation, because we're buying down the bonds. So again, as business owners, how does this affect you is people are going to accept all three of these things as currencies, and businesses are already accepting it. So as a business owner, if you're not, you're going to be at a disadvantage. And if you're not taking some of this cash and putting it in an asset that's outpacing inflation, you're going to be in a more disadvantage. So watch as these first, like, subscribe, because I will be commenting on what happens. But watch these videos. Try to understand. If you don't understand, ChatGPT, YouTube, Google is there for your learning. But these are key concepts for business owners and individuals to understand. And if you don't, reach out, ask questions, and good luck.